Explain the Mercedarian habit. That's what we wear. I'll give more explanation than that. What all religious wear, when I say religious, I mean someone who belongs to a religious community, what they wear is called a habit. That comes from the Latin word, and it means basically what you are accustomed to wearing. A habit is something you're accustomed to doing. A habit is also something you're accustomed to wearing in the church's sense. So what we are wearing for our Mercedarian community is what we've been wearing since 1218 when we were founded. It hasn't changed over the years like some communities have. And it's made up of several different pieces. The material doesn't matter, whether it's wool or cotton, a blend or something else. I would not want to wear polyester because it traps heat. And when you're wearing layers and layers, it traps it all. Trust me, even with this one, which I believe is a blend, it feels like you're wearing a trash bag over you in the summertime. It traps all the heat and you feel the sweat running down your back every day. You just get used to it, I guess. It's made up of several pieces, the bottom piece being what we call a tunic. It's this piece here. It goes around the neck and it just goes straight down to your ankles, more or less. And it has sleeves. Then you have a belt, which is just a regular leather belt, but there's this little piece that hangs off the side, a side belt, if you will. There are some amongst our community that erroneously will say that it represents a sword because we were a military order when we were founded. That is not true. It was never a sword. It was never meant to be a sword or represent a sword. The belt for every religious community represents the rule that your particular community follows. If you follow the rule of Saint Benedict, it is a leather belt that is black with nothing hanging from it. So if you go to the Trappist monastery, they wear a leather belt, nothing hanging from it. If you follow the rule of St. Augustine, it is a black leather belt with something black hanging from the left side. We have this. The Augustinians have this. The Dominicans removed this and replaced it with a black rosary. So again, something black hanging from the left side. So if you follow the rule of St. Augustine like we do, you have a black leather belt with something black hanging from the left side. If you follow the rule of St. Francis, what do they wear? It's a white cord with 3 knots representing the 3 vows. And every offshoot of the Franciscan family that follows the rule of St. Francis has the white cord with the 3 knots. It's a symbol of the rule that you follow. This part here, it's basically a rectangular piece that has a hole in the middle for your head, is called a scapular. You might be familiar with the brown scapular, the small little square that people use, you know. Well, that's a scapular, but it's for the lay people, and it represents the larger scapular of a religious community. So the brown scapular is for the Carmelite community, and it is a sharing in the spiritual goods of the Carmelite family. As a Mercedarian, I don't wear a brown scapular, because why would I want to associate with another religious family when I belong to this family? There is a Mercedarian scapular. It's white. It has our shield on the front, usually a symbol for Mary in the back. And again, wearing a scapular is uniting yourself to a spiritual family and sharing in the spiritual graces of that particular religious family. That goes on to the next, which is the shield. Notice mine is on a chain. It can be on a rope, or it can be clipped onto the top piece. I used to have mine clipped on until I was in Chicago and it was a particularly windy day and the wind blew and everything went up and the shield went right across my eye and cut it and it was bleeding. I decided then I was not going to go blind because I was wearing this shield as a clip. So I switched it to a chain, and if this blows in my face, so be it. At least I won't go blind. This top piece is called a kapush. It's basically like a little shoulder cape. It has a hood in the back. You can wear it. And in Italy they do, in the cold months, because it helps to keep the draft off of you, because the churches don't have heat in them. So when I was there, people used them. I didn't, because I like the cold, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, it's very similar to the Dominican habit, as I'm sure you probably noticed. The difference between us and them is that we have a belt on the side, they have a rosary. We have a shield, they don't. And this piece for us is longer than it is for them. For us, it's usually about 2 inches below the elbow. Theirs is usually 2 inches above the elbow, so it's shorter. Historically, the longer this top piece was, the closer you were to the royal family where you were established. In our case, we were a royal order founded in part by the King of Aragon, so the King of Spain. And because of that, ours was longer. They were not founded by a royal family, nor supported by one, so theirs were shorter. If you notice, like with the Franciscans, it goes literally right here, just across the shoulders, to show their complete detachment from anything that's not poverty. So as you see, it gets shorter and shorter depending on your connection to a royal family, historically speaking. The shield itself, since everybody's asking about the habit, you can't ignore the shield since it's on everything that we do. If you notice even, well, you can't see it because it's covered. Our Lady of Mercy is wearing it, St. Raymond Nonatus is wearing it, Peter Nolasco is wearing it. We have it as the symbol for the parish because it's Our Lady of Mercy. It's this. And it's hard to see from a distance, but it's divided into, we'll call it 3 parts. The bottom part has 4 red bars with gold in between, because it's taken from the royal arms of the King of Aragon. His shield was only that bottom part, the 4 red bars on a golden shield. That was it for the royal family of Aragon. The middle piece, which has a white cross and the background is red, is from the Cathedral of Barcelona where we were founded. At the time, it was the Cathedral of the Holy Cross. It's now called the Cathedral of La Merced, and our community is Los Mercedarios. So it was named after Our Lady of Mercy. Now, the crown was given to us by the King of Spain to show the royal protection of our community. If you had a crown on your shield, it's because you were part of the royal family, or you're trying to become the royal family. You're trying to kick them out. So ours shows our connection to the royal family. So you have the crown from the king, you have the bottom part of his personal shield, and you have the cross from Barcelona. That's the historical development. But every community has a shield, whether they wear it or not. The Dominicans, for example, have a shield that has a cross that's on it, and it alternates between black and white. It's going around in a circle, black, white, black, white, black, white. And the Franciscans, they have, you have a cross, and underneath it you have 2 arms that are crossed like this. One is the arm of St. Francis, the other is the arm of Jesus, and they both have the nail marks because St. Francis had the stigmata. So you have the crossed arms of Jesus and St. Francis with the cross. You see all of these things. You can look them up if you're curious. But everyone has their historical significance, and you have the spiritual one. So for us, spiritually speaking, this represents the ideal Mercedarian. You have the 4 red bars, which represent for us the 4 vows that we take. The 3 that every religious community takes of obedience, poverty, and chastity. And then we have a 4th vow where we're willing to do everything we can, including, if necessary, exchanging ourselves in place of those who are in danger of losing their faith. Notice it says everything we can, including, if necessary, exchanging ourselves. When we were redeeming Christian slaves, that was important because we exchanged ourselves for people and we were worth the value of the number of slaves that were freed in our place. The cross is the center of the shield, just like it's the center of our lives. And it's on what they call a field of red, just like on the American flag you have the white stars on the field of blue, showing that we're willing to shed even our own blood in pursuit of that cross. And as it is a Marian order, we say the crown represents the queenship of Mary, that she's the one who guides our order. It is her order. We were founded by St. Peter Nolasco, but we're called the Order of the Blessed Virgin Mary of Mercy. We're not called the Nolascians or the Petrines or whatever, because even he said that she was the foundress of the order. So, that's the symbolism. The 4 red bars for the vows, the cross in the center because it's the center of our life, the field of red showing we're willing to shed our own blood for it, all under the queenship of Mary. Any questions? Yes?
You said you were originally founded as a military order?
Mm-hmm.
How does that play out?
Back in the good old days of the 13th century, military orders had a military structure. And up until Vatican II, even our superiors were called commanders. So you had commanders, you had generals, but they were just positions of authority. But military orders were supposed to, in a sense, have a military structure. You're focused on the kingdom of God, and you didn't fight as a military, but your structure was a military structure. So that's how that was. Any other questions? Mm-hmm.
You mentioned your bells on the left side. Is there a reason why left versus right?
Technically, if it's the Augustinian cincture they called it, it was in the middle, because it was in the middle. But we wear a scapular over it, so you couldn't see it. So they moved it to the side. And because most people were right-handed, it wasn't in the way. I guess that's the reason. That's the only thing I can think of. It just happens to be the left side. It would be kind of weird on the right. I mean, we keep our keys and other things on the right side, so it'd be in the way. Any other questions?
Father, where do you get the habits?
Well, they're usually made for us. We receive them when we enter the novitiate. We usually find a local seamstress or tailor or someone who's good with making things. They take the pieces, they make them the right size, and then we give them to our novices when they enter the novitiate. Speaking of which, if you know anybody who's a good seamstress, we're always looking for people who are interested in making habits for us. And every other community out there is looking for the same. So if you're looking for a few extra bucks on the side, let me know. But you got to be able to do it correctly. Any other questions? No. So we'll move on to this one first.